Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, wherever you are. Welcome to the Yugabyte DBA training. My name is Kirtideep and I have 20 years of experience in data platform. I worked as a database administrator, data platform architect and leader. I worked on a variety of databases which include Microsoft SQL Server, Postgres, MySQL, MongoDB, Oracle, Yugabyte and more. Coming to the objective of this training, so this training series is designed to empower you with the skills and understanding that is required to manage a Yugabyte database. Yugabyte DB is a modern distributed SQL database that is Postgres compatible, which is built for cloud native as well as hybrid kind of workloads. Over the next few sessions, we are going to cover everything from architecture to installation to operations, high availability, monitoring, and real world use cases. Whether you are new to distributed databases or if you're looking to deepen your expertise, this training will equip you with practical knowledge and best practices which are tailored for production grade environments. So, why delay? Let's get started and make the most of this learning journey together. So in this training agenda, I have laid down a logical partition of different topics that I would like to explain. So we'll start off with introduction about what exactly is Yugabyte and what is its architecture and how it is different from traditional other OLTP databases. It is very important to understand the traditional versus distributed and the key components of what a distributed database makes. So once we understand it, we'll have some comparisons, benchmarks, case studies on it. And later we'll move on to understanding various deployment types which can be done on on-prem, on EC2 VMs or on EC2 or on other cloud instances like virtual machines of Azure and all. We can even have deployment types wherein you can have few servers on on-prem, few on cloud, or we can have different combinations. We are going to walk through all those things. Then we'll move on to the prerequisites and how what are the things that we need to take care before we start or move ahead with the installation. And we're going to see different types of installations which we are going to do. At least we'll start with a couple of them, which is on VMs or EC2 instances, and then one SaaS-based model. And then we'll move on to post installation configuration. So we'll have to make some configuration changes once we do the installation, and later we'll also understand how do we add more nodes or remove nodes, and how do we do minor version upgrades. And one of the important things that we have to do post part of post configuration is to configure GFlags. These are the flags that are set at global level, and there are at different contexts. We have to understand what are the different GFlags available and how do we make those changes, and what does it take for it to take effect. And then we'll move on to the backup and recovery, which will be one of the most appreciated topics, I believe, because what makes Yugabyte one of the best is the way it offers backup and recovery process built in the product itself and makes it simple compared to some of the other products like Postgres. We'll also touch base on the user access management, although this will not be a significant different for how does it look for an Postgres DBAs, but for other DBAs, it would help them understand because there is a difference in how the user access is being provided compared to SQL Server or other databases versus Postgres compatible databases. And then we'll also look at some of the custom configurations which we could do, something like PG stat activity logging, because this is a distributed architecture. You have multiple nodes which are taking write operations. So there are some additional configurations or capture or loggings that we'll have to do in order to get a centralized view of what activities are happening per node basis. And then we'll move on to the database and schema management. Basically, how do we create a database schema? How do we create tables, indexes, perform some DML operations, select operations? And one of the important topics we'll touch on this particular area is the tablet splitting. It's very important to understand before you create any schema or tables, because it's going to have a significant impact on your performance and manageability, and it can cause problems if we do not do a proper data modeling without understanding how the tablets are created and how they are managed, how they are divided. It's a very important topic. And then we'll move on to some of the advanced DBA tasks, which include index strategies to be followed. What is a partitioning strategy, if at all, if that your data size is going to be huge, or it it has potential to grow huge. It's better to always have that partition strategy right at the beginning so that you don't have to worry about doing it later, where it's going to cause a lot of inconvenience and a lot of downtime or maintenance windows needed if once the table becomes so huge and you want to again partition it. And then, yeah, we'll again revisit the tablet split strategy once we talk about partitioning and how the tablet split is going to change when you have partitioning, what kind of different strategies we could employ while we use tablet splitting on partition based tables. And then we'll move on to the common maintenance activities. So one of the important things is the platform itself provides a way to get alerts and set up monitoring, and we could have a lot of metrics where we could visualize how things are and all. And then some of the things which we'll have to configure, or like any regular posters that people do, we have to schedule some cron jobs or pg cron to run some analyze on their tables. And one of the regular maintenance activity that most of the enterprise organizations do would be regular OS patching of their environment. So what is the action to be taken by the DBAs during the time, and how do we look at various logs and look for any errors, warnings, or fatal messages. And then we'll also see how can we schedule application level cron jobs, because every application would have some requirements where they want to perform some functions on a periodic basis. So yeah, Postgres doesn't have a native, even Yugabyte doesn't have a native job scheduler. So we'll have to rely on something, an extension called pgcron or something. So we coming to that, so we're going to not only explore pgcron, but we are going to also explore few other extensions which can be pg audit and fdw. Based on the use cases, these may be needed for some of the applications. And then we'll also look into some of the routine database administration tasks, like if the sessions are not managed properly, or if there is a testing something performed and the sessions are left idle state, how do we handle those by terminating those sessions? Because it's a distributed, we need to have different mechanism on how do we handle that. Then we're going to see how do we have some metadata where we can look at how the tables, what are the number of tablets against each table, how do we map table versus tablet counts. That is useful for some troubleshooting or for understanding, because too many tablets on a table are going to be problematic. We have to be always aware and make sure you do not create too many tablets per tables. And sometimes due to some issues and all, there may be lingering tablets that will be left over, so it is important that we understand and monitor such things. And then other things like we can for anyone doing load testing or any other ways, like if you need to monitor the connection counts and all, we'll have to look at, we are going to look at how we're going to do that. And how do we log into the Yugabyte nodes, perform some basic OS commands, because people coming from non-Postgres or Linux backgrounds, they may not be well aware of some of the useful commands that they need to run on Linux, because Yugabyte runs primarily on the Linux environment. So it's important that for someone coming from non-Linux background to understand the OS commands to work with Yugabyte. And we're going to see some of the common log file locations where we can find more information. And finally, we're going to look at some of the troubleshooting by taking few scenarios and how do we approach those things. So yeah, let's move on to the next topic. Then we're going to start with introduction and going to drill down into the architecture of Yugabyte. Thank you.